Hello everyone, I am Seema here. Now I am going to discuss about my topic history of historical linguistics. Now I am going to give an introduction about what is historical linguistics. Historical linguistics is the study of language change. It is the oldest subfield of modern linguistics. Historical linguistics is sometimes called diachronic linguistics. It has come from the Greek word die, which means throw, and chromos, which means time. Since historical linguists are concerned with change in a language or languages over time, historical linguistics can be called comparative linguistics because historical linguists compare language to study the changes of the languages. Now I am going to tell about the history and development of historical linguistics. Historical linguistics had its root in the etymological speculations of medieval times, in the comparative study of Greek and Latin developed during Renaissance. It was only in the 19th century, however, that more scientific methods of language comparison and sufficient data on the early Indo-European languages combined to establish the principles now used by historical linguists. The theories of the neo-grammarians were especially important because of the rigorous manner in which they formulated sound and correspondences in the Indo-European languages. In the 20th century, historical linguists have successfully extended the application of the theories and methods of the 19th century to the classification and historical study of non-Indo-European languages. Now I am going to tell about the classical theory of historical linguistics. The first historical linguist noticed recurrent correspondences between the sounds of cognate words in the early Indo-European languages. They explained this by sound laws. One of the first sound laws to be discovered was the Germanic consonant shift, which is known as Grimm's law. I have cited two examples here. The first one is Sanskrit trias, which is in English it is called tree, which converts voiceless stops to voiceless fricatives. And another example is brother in Sanskrit, which has become brother in English. Here voice aspirated converted to plain voice stops in Germanic. Now I am going to tell about the comparative method of historical linguistics. Comparative method is the one of the important method of historical linguistics. The comparative method in historical linguistics is concerned with the reconstruction of an earlier language or earlier state of a language on the basis of a comparison of related words and expression in different languages or dialects derived from it. It was developed in the course of the 19th century for the reconstruction of Proto-Indo-European languages. For example, the Greek, Sanskrit and Latin words for five allow us to specify the Proto-Indo-European form uniquely as pengue. And now I am going to tell about what do you study in historical linguistics. Historical linguistics studies various types of changes that take place in a language in the course of time. The changes are such as sound change, grammatical change, semantic change, syntactic change, etc. It also studies the borrowing of words in any language. Now I am going to tell about sound change in a language. Certain common types of sound change, most notably assimilation and dissimilation, can be explained in terms of contextual and conditioning. Here I have cited an example of assimilation. Assimilation is the process by which one sound is made similar in its place or manner of articulation to a neighboring sound. For example, noctem becomes notte and octo becomes otto due to assimilation. And another change is grammatical change. A language can acquire a grammatical distinction that it did not have previously, and it can also lose a grammatical distinction. For example, modern spoken French has lost the distinction between the simple past and the perfect. Now I am going to tell about the semantic change of a language. Most important, perhaps, and the factor that has been emphasized particularly by the so-called words and things movement in historical semantics is the change undergone in the course of time by the objects or concepts that words denote. For example, the English word car goes back through Latin carus to a Celtic word for a four-wheeled wagon. It now denotes a very different sort of vehicle. Confronted with a model of a Celtic wagon in a museum, one wouldn't describe it as a car. And another important aspect of historical linguistics is borrowing. Languages borrow words freely from one another. Usually this happens when some new object or concept is developed for which the borrowing language has no word for its own or equivalent term for this. For example, the English word bank comes through French from the Latin banca. And now I am going to tell why do we study historical linguistics. Historical linguistics can provide us with 4,000 or more years of continuous data depending on how far back the written tradition goes. Understanding how languages change over time gives us insight into their underlying structures. Historical linguistics contributes significantly to other areas of linguistics and to linguistic theory. And now I am going to tell principal concerns of historical linguistics. Principal concerns of historical linguistics include to describe and account for object changes in the particular languages, to reconstruct a prehistory of languages and to determine their relatedness, grouping them into language families, to develop general theories about how and why language changes, to describe the history of speech community, to study the history of words, its etymology, etc. How has historical linguistics influenced society? Historical linguistics impacts society by assisting in the study of history, speech, language, historical events, etc. The historic social integration of different cultures helps us to understand how and why we use certain words and phrases. It has an impact on verbal and written communication. It has also provided a way to trace migration patterns and to track one's ancestry. And in conclusion, I want to say that historical linguistics has been developed through various stages. Historical linguistics can unfold both the methods of investigating linguistic change and the theories designed to explain the changes and references. And now I am going to conclude my presentation here. Thank you.